Modern society operates on a deeply ingrained assumption about law enforcement, that police forces exist to protect individual citizens from harm. We expect a social contract where the state deploys its monopoly on violence to keep the public safe. The historical record reveals a different institutional reality. Private mercantile elites engineered the operational blueprint for modern law enforcement to secure corporate cargo. By the late 18th century, the River Thames in London was the center of global commerce and a massive logistical bottleneck. At any given time, roughly 8,000 vessels sat moored in the river, holding £75 million in highly vulnerable floating property. Traditional control mechanisms, like the decentralized parish night watchman, were completely swallowed by this mass of incoming commerce. Early global capitalism generated a supply chain choke point so dense that traditional state security failed. Maintaining this logistical flow required a mechanized, proactive form of social control. The architects of this new control mechanism were the West India Committee, a powerful political syndicate of plantation owners, slave traders, and sugar merchants. This split ledger visualization shows their core economic crisis. While massive wealth flowed into the port, the committee lost an estimated £500,000 every single year to dockside pilferage. This extraction of wealth was structurally endemic to the dock labor system. The continuous loss of high-value commodities like sugar and rum threatened the profit margins and the ultimate financial viability of the West India monopoly. To seal these economic leaks, the committee proposed a solution: abandon reactive, localized watchmen and privately fund a centralized, proactive security apparatus to forcibly secure their assets. Corporate elites drove the first step toward modern, proactive policing, bypassing the state entirely to optimize their own logistics. Securing the cargo required confronting two conflicting socio-economic paradigms: what the wealthy merchants labeled organized theft, the dockyard laborers viewed as customary perks. These customary perks functioned as invisible wages. In the brutal dockyard economy, this informal compensation was a requirement for daily survival. The merchants hired magistrate Patrick Colquhoun to study, map, and dismantle this underground economy. This organizational chart maps Colquhoun's criminal taxonomy. At the top were the light horsemen, highly organized night syndicates that bribed corrupt customs officers to loot sugar and rum. Below them were the heavy horsemen, or day plunderers. These laborers stole cargo in broad daylight, using specialized hidden leg patches called jemmies to smuggle out coffee and cocoa. Further down were the scuffle hunters. This opportunistic lower class posed as legitimate porters on the congested quays, wearing long aprons to conceal stolen goods. At the absolute bottom were the mudlarks, scavengers prowling the river mud at low tide to catch bags of sugar purposely dropped by ship unloaders above. Colquhoun's taxonomy formally redefined the established survival tactics of a labor force into targeted, organized crime. The invention of the police apparatus required the linguistic and legal weaponization of crime to systematically dispossess laborers of their traditional informal compensation. In 1798, the West India Committee fully funded the physical establishment of the Marine Police Institution at Wapping High Street. This was a maritime paramilitary organization. Surveyors commanded rowing galleys, armed with cutlasses and blunderbusses. These surveyors and constables operated as an armed private militia, asserting absolute territorial dominance over the river. To dismantle the customary perks system, the police enforced strict new dress codes on the laborers. They banned the baggy clothing used to conceal goods, stripping workers of the capacity to carry out their informal wage extraction. The police then executed a direct takeover of labor management. They hired their own master lumpers, foremen deployed to oversee the discharging of ships and enforce compliance on the docks. A man named Gabriel Franks served as one of these master lumpers. He embodied this new synthesis between corporate labor control and armed enforcement. The Marine Police engineered the physical and economic conditions of the working class to maximize corporate profit. Stripping dock laborers of their invisible wages created a direct, violent conflict between the workforce and the newly established police office. On October 16, 1798, a coal heaver named Charles Ayres was caught stealing. He was taken to the Wapping police office and fined 40 shillings. The escalation was immediate. His brother, James Ayres, mobilized a massive mob of dock workers to attack the police station and reclaim the money. This tactical map details the resulting siege. The mob surrounded the police office, tearing up paving stones and smashing windows to breach the station. The heavily outnumbered police commanders ordered their men to fire their pistols directly into the crowd of laborers. Magistrate Cole Cahoon stepped out of the station to legally read the riot act and was met with return gunfire from the mob. During the chaos, Gabriel Franks, the police-employed master lumper, ran to retrieve a cutlass to defend the station. He was shot dead by the mob. Gabriel Franks became the first police officer killed in the line of duty, a casualty of the first conflict between a professional force and the laborers it was hired to regulate. The state's legal response to the uprising was absolute. James Ayers was held legally responsible, convicted of inciting the riot, and sentenced to hang. When the judge delivered the sentence, Ayers coldly replied, "Amen, I hope he will." The whopping riot demonstrated that a centralized, lethal force could successfully hold the line for corporate property against mass labor resistance. The West India Committee's experiment proved the effectiveness of the preventative model for the protection of capital. The British government recognized the utility of the model, leading to the Depredations on the Thames Act of 1800. This legislation officially absorbed the private corporate security force into the state apparatus, making it the first modern police force. They maintain a permanent presence on the river today. In 1829, Sir Robert Peel pushed the Metropolitan Police Act through Parliament, creating the urban bobbies. Peel utilized the Thames River Police as his exact operational blueprint. The model built for cargo protection was repurposed to manage the urban working class. Critical criminology suggests that the justice system inherently prioritizes the preservation of a commercially viable socio-economic order over community healing or individual safety. These historical origins are mirrored in modern jurisprudence. Under the public duty doctrine, the highest courts in the US and the UK consistently rule that the police bear no legally enforceable duty to protect individual citizens from harm. The institutional logic established at Wappen continues to define the police role. By shielding departments from a duty to protect individuals, the legal system reinforces their function as the physical manifestation of the state's monopoly on violence. From the sugar docks of 1798 to modern cities, the institution follows its original blueprint, deploying state coercion to secure the uninterrupted flow of capital.